Good morning and welcome to Fire, Emergency and Protective Services Committee. Call to order. First thing we're going to do is the land acknowledgement. As we gather, we would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we're meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We'd like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history. And we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Clerk Everett, if you could call the roll, please.
Chair McWhirter.
Here.
Councillor McDonald.
Present.
Councillor Zabalski. Chair McWhirter, we have quorum.
Thank you. Any declaration of interest?
No.
None shown. We'll go on to presentations. First presentation C1, presentation Fire and Emergency Protective Services Standing Committee Terms of Reference, and that'll be presented by the Town Clerk Everett.
Okay, so just a bit of an overview as to what this committee is about and why we're here. To quickly go into the committee structure. Sorry, I got a little bit lost. Okay, so basically the terms of reference for this meeting and this committee itself was approved by council on October the 24th. The following council members have been appointed, which is Councillor McWhirter as the chair, Councillor Zabalski and Councillor McDonald. The recording secretary is myself, and then the main lead is the Director of Fire and Protective Services, Michael Guest. Okay, so the meeting schedule. So the Fire, Emergency and Protective Services Committee will meet at 10 a.m. on the third Tuesday every month, with the exception of July. The meeting will be held here in the council chambers or in the council boardroom, and it'll be broadcasted on our town's YouTube channel. All meetings are open to the public, and any member of the public wishing to address the committee directly is to request delegation through myself, and at least a week and a half in advance of the scheduled meeting. The mandate of the committee: the Fire, Emergency and Protective Services Committee provides guidance and direction on creating and maintaining a safe community. The committee is responsible for issuing for issues related to fire, emergency and protective services. This also includes bylaw. General responsibilities. All of this information is in our agenda. It's attached as a PDF. So I'm going to kind of run through these very briefly, but anybody who want more detailed in look is encouraged to look at the agenda. But general responsibilities is being responsible directly to council for the items emanating from all applicable services within fire and emergency services, as I said, also including bylaw. Receiving reports with key performance indicators and other data pertaining to the Fire Emergency Services Department. Serves as the town's Property Standards Committee to hear all appeals, and addresses matters related to and arising from any local boards, advisory committees, and working groups. So this would also include the Renfrew Detachment Police Service Board, and at this time that's the only one it's associated to, but others may be added on as we go down the list. So kind of specific responsibilities: bylaw and regulatory services, fire services, protective services, and then also any concerns that are related to parking. So that's the parking bylaw and parking restrictions here in town. So again, I know I kind of ran through that very quickly, but that information is available on our agenda. Is there any questions? Okay.
Okay, so thank you, Clerk Everett. So we're going to move on to presentation 2, Renfrew Fire Department monthly report, given to us by Fire Chief Guest.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you. So this is the monthly fire report for the Renfrew Fire Department for the month of October. The first slide we will show you is the annual comparison for October. So as you can see, in 2023 of this year, basically we had 19 calls for the month of October compared to 13 from the previous year. So calls were up slightly. Medical locked door calls were increased this year. We had 8 in the month in comparison to 3 in the previous year. Most of the other figures were comparable to last year. Moving forward to monthly training. So in the month of October, the Renfrew Fire Department continued with their auto extrication training. In September, we had an extrication specialist conduct intensive hands-on training with our crews. So in efforts to continuously advance and build upon those skills that they learned, we spent some more time at Yukowski Lumber and Scrap working on extrication techniques. Our volunteer roster attended the station to continue working on their Firefighter 1 certification. This training focused on firefighter safety, emergency scene lighting, communications, personal protective equipment, self-contained breathing apparatus, and the proper use of fire extinguishers. Fire prevention in October. So this is one of our busier months due to Fire Prevention Week, and it ran from October 8th to the 14th. And the theme was Cooking Safety Starts With You. And in this slide, it also gives some, some usable resources that everybody can use, and some safe cooking practices. So be on alert if you are sleepy or have consumed drugs or alcohol. It's recommended not to use the stovetop. You can order in some food or grab something that doesn't utilize the stove. Stay in the kitchen while you are frying, boiling, grilling, or cooking foods. A lot of times people get distracted, whether it's watching television or utilizing their cell phones. So just pay attention while you're cooking. And lastly, keep anything that can catch fire, obviously oven mitts, wooden utensils, or food packaging, towels away from the stovetop. Public education during the week of November 10th, sorry, that should be October 10th to the 13th, the Renfrew Fire Department welcomed our elementary schools from the town of Renfrew. A total of 14 classes attended the station to participate in our Fire Prevention Week activities. The following week, our firefighters attended the schools to visit with the kindergarten classes. So during these visits, both at the station and in the schools, students learned important fire safety lessons such as stop, drop, and roll, get out, stay out, escape drills in the home, and it also stresses the importance of having a meeting place and working smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. So basically, this program starts, with school-age kids from JK to SK and all the way through school, and it builds on the program. Public relations. So on October 20th, the Renfrew Fire Department and Our Lady of Fatima School played a friendly game of football, with the game finishing at a tie. We would just like to say thank you to Our Lady of Fatima for having us attend. It was a lot of fun, both for the kids and also for us. We put there was a tie in there, but we actually won. On October the 25th, Enbridge Gas presented the Renfrew Fire Department with a $5,000 grant. So Enbridge Gas is helping the Renfrew Fire Department purchase firefighting training materials through their Safe Community Project Assist grant. It's a program in conjunction with the Fire Marshal's Public Safety Council that supplements existing training for Ontario volunteer and composite fire departments. And of course, it's communities that are serviced by Enbridge Gas. And this generous grant offered by Enbridge will go a long way in ensuring that our firefighters have the necessary education and current materials to increase their knowledge. So I'd just like to say thank you to Enbridge Gas and the Fire Marshal's Public Safety Council. Moving on to notable responses. So on October 23rd, the Renfrew Fire Department responded to Monroe Avenue East for a report of a garbage truck smoking. The driver had removed the battery from the rear of the truck prior to our crews arriving. This was a lithium-ion battery, and I'm sure you've heard lots of media releases pertaining to lithium-ion batteries. So the officer that was on that call was concerned that there may be potentially other batteries still in the truck, and our crews had escorted that truck to the landfill site, and they did find another battery and the tool actually located in the load. So they isolated those hazards. So it's just some information on lithium-ion batteries. So they're found in many popular consumer products now, and they're really under scrutiny following numerous fires and some substantial fires. Lithium-ion batteries, they combine a flammable electrolyte with significant stored energy, and if the battery creates more heat than it can disperse, this leads to basically an uncontrolled burn, and we refer to it as thermal runaway, which results in a rapid fire and possibly explosion. So some ways to prevent these incidents: it's important to use the right battery and the proper charger for your device or tool. More often than not, you can go online and get some generic brands, and they may or may not be compatible. So there's some safety concerns with that. Secondly, avoid overcharging and follow manufacturer's recommendations for proper device storing and care and maintenance. And lastly, and probably most important, follow the proper disposal of batteries, as they cannot be discarded in the trash. And I've included the link calltorecycle.ca, and if you go on this link, it will supply you with an area you can drop off these batteries for disposal. That's the end of the report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, through your chair. Good summary, Chief. Thank you very much. I got a couple of questions with regard to the volunteer fire department. And I know we just brought several members on. When do they become operational and activated, or are they still in the training phase of the program?
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. So they are currently on the roster, and they are attending emergency scenes. However, they are limited to what they can perform, being they would not be conducting an interior attack. This firefighter certification that 9 out of the 11 are currently enrolled in, it's basically a one-year process, but they are responding. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And I just want to say my granddaughter went to one of your open houses and loved it. So it's amazing how firefighters are always heroes for people. And I just want to give you feedback on that. Also glad to hear you won the football game. I was quite concerned about the tie, but we'll leave it there, okay? Thank you.
I have one question for you. These lithium batteries, what could you give me give us an example of what you might find those in, just so people might be aware?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So they are in numerous objects, so cordless drills, cell phones, computers. Most devices now have lithium-ion batteries in them. But where they're actually seeing more problems are with mobile scooters and things like that.
So bigger batteries, like the big
normally, in this case, it was actually a portable ice auger that was battery powered. So it was similar to what a DeWalt drill would use.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further questions? No, we're all good. Okay, we'll move on to C3 presentation. MLES bylaw enforcement monthly report. Again, that falls to you, Chief Guest.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. So this is the monthly bylaw report for the month of October. We'll just go through some of the calls and some of the numbers from October. So basically, tickets, we had 50 tickets issued in 2023 compared to 61 tickets issued in the previous year. Property standards, we had 13 calls for property standards compared to 16 in the previous year. Clean yards, those numbers were up substantially in the month of October. We had 15 calls or concerns compared to 4 in the previous year. Looking at the total annual comparison to 2022, so far at Clean Yards we had 157 calls for the year compared to 263 in the previous year. Tickets issued in 2023 as of now 467 compared to the previous year of 478, so very comparable. Property standards this year 260 and the previous year was 368. So property standards calls are down. I think that's positive.
Any questions?
Thank you, and I'll have three of them, Chair. I'll go one at a time, so through you. The first one is with regard to slide 2 that's on there. Can you, Chief, can you explain what falls under the category of tickets at 50 for this month? And more specifically in relation to parking tickets. That's tend to what I think of. Is that the same thing, or how do they categorize that sort of stuff? So with regard to the tickets at 50 for this month, what does that mean? If you can expand on that a bit?
Of course, through you, Mr. Chair. So tickets, normally that's related directly to parking tickets that are issued.
Okay, follow up to that. So when we go down to the parking, then we have 17. What I'm looking at is that parking complaints that came in? Is it a bit separate with regard to that? Like someone phoned in and made a complaint with regard to a car parked?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So it could be people that call in with complaints. It could be fire routes or other concerns, or permit parking only, whereas the tickets are more related to just parking tickets on the street, whether they're in that zone for too long. Most of the other ones are based on complaints.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. And for the second one, Chief, how are the noise calls categorized? And what I mean by that is it a noise complaint coming in, like the one that comes in after 11 o'clock at night with a bylaw noisy party? And how is that differentiated between the OPP responding to maybe a noise call, and how are we capturing the noise complaints there? Do you know what I'm trying to get at here? Like, just what's the difference, or do you have that data? And I understand if you don't and you have to get back to me, I can appreciate that.
So from my understanding, noise complaints are normally after hours, and normally they're tiered with OPP as well. So it could be loud music after the hour of 11 o'clock, but normally those two are tiered simultaneously.
And we don't have, obviously, anyone attending through bylaw at that time of night, so would that be potentially they're going the next day, a complaint came in and they're going the next day just to follow up? Or?
Yes, exactly. They would be follow-up. Normally they wouldn't respond because it's not considered an emergency. It's more of a complaint. They would pick it up within 24 hours of the call.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, for number 3. And so where I'm getting with number 3, and you may have to get back to me if you don't have it right on you at this time, which I understand. Do we have any current specific bylaw that protects the continuity to continually maintain Renfrew's business downtown look? And what I mean by that is the facade of the buildings. That if a building is destroyed or renovated or something takes place, someone comes in and purchases it but wants to redo something, do we have anything that protects the look of the downtown specifically with regard to a bylaw? And if you have to get back to me on that one, I'm fine. I just want to, that is there's several people, business community oriented, that have brought this up. And I just wanted to make sure before I move forward with some sort of motion that we can at least check the archives of perhaps some bylaws that aren't technically readily available or that we enforce. So I'm looking for that if there's a change, fire, destruction, renovation, that we somehow have something that protects the look. I don't care what takes place behind the front of the building, but that protects the look of the downtown street. And there's a bank in town where obviously it has more of a modern look in the downtown area, which changed the look of the downtown. So how do we protect that? And that's where I'm going with this, okay? Thank you, go ahead.
Thank you, through Mr. Chair. So I would think that we would probably pertain and lean towards the property standards as far as care and maintenance, minimum level of standards that's expected. As far as regulating what the storefront looks like, modernization, I don't believe there is a bylaw pertaining to that, but we can certainly look into it. But if there's issues with, damage or delinquent structures, that's definitely under the Property Standards Act.
Okay, thank you. So if you could look into that one specifically I'm talking about in terms of protecting the look of it. And I like your other part where what you touched on, but that's the one specific point I'd like, if you could look into and just get back to me sometime with whether it's a yay or nay, if we have something for that, okay?
Thank you.
Yep.
Just to clarify, so you want to see if we can have a structure to limit what people or how they can change the facade?
Yeah, and specifically, again, they're doing renovations or, sorry, go ahead, Clerk.
Sorry, through you, Chair. Just so that we're clear, if it's requesting if the information is already on hand and can be provided versus directing staff to move forward with a request to develop it.
Yes, thank you. Not directing staff at this point in time. Do we have that? I haven't been able to locate it, but do we have a current bylaw before I take the next step? So that's what I'm looking for.
And again, through you, Chair. At this time, my understanding is that the only specifications we have are within the property standards bylaw that we currently have. And I don't believe it specifically addresses the downtown core. However, it does address property standards in general and the upkeep of a property.
Perfect. That's what I was looking for. So thank you very much.
If I could just interject for you, Councillor McDonald, I would think if town staff was to go down that road and look into that, I think it'd be probably have to do with consultation with the BIA, and because they would be directly involved, because you'd be limiting businesses as to what they could do going down the road. But I would think everybody else would be grandfathered at this point, where you couldn't force them to change their facade. But going forward, you might be able to do that with a bylaw. But again, you'd probably want to, and since you're on BIA, that might be something you want to maybe chat with BIA about preliminary before town staff would come up with a bylaw.
Perfect. Thank you, Chair.
Quite welcome, Councillor McDonald. Thank you for your input. I guess we'll go on to, if there's no more questions, we'll go on to reports. Item D, Fire and Emergency Services. There's no report other than what we already did. Okay, thank you. Bylaw enforcement, D21. If I could get a mover for agreement with the town of Carleton Place for the use of the town of Renfrew's animal impound facility. Recommended action that Fire and Emergency and Protective Services Committee recommend Renfrew Town Council approve the agreement between the town of Carleton Place and the town of Renfrew for the use of the town of Renfrew's animal impound facility. A mover, please. Well, thank you very much, Councillor McDonald. And I'll turn this over to Chief Guest.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. So as you recall, a similar agreement came forward in spring of 2023 for a different municipality to utilize our pound located on Lisgar Street. So this permits potentially the town of Carleton Place to utilize the impoundment facility located at 529 Lisgar Avenue for the purposes of housing dogs picked up by Carleton Place Animal Control officers, and currently it's MLES. This is the first agreement with Carleton Place. The terms of this agreement match those in the past undertakings of the same nature, and pending Council's endorsement, the town of Renfrew will have agreements utilizing our animal impound facility with the following municipalities: Horton Township, McNabb Braeside, Admaston Bromley, Greater Madawaska, Whitewater Region, and potentially Carleton Place. It is anticipated that the draft agreement will be presented to the respective council of the town of Carleton Place for consideration in the next few weeks. Thank you.
Any questions? Councillor McDonald.
Through you, Chair. Yeah. And Chief, this falls under our current direction that we're going to bring stuff in-house for the bylaw, and nothing changes with regard to the pound, right? It's part of what we're going to be doing with the current business plan moving forward, right?
That's correct. These agreements are with the town of Renfrew, so nothing will change in 2024.
I have a question for you, Chief Guest. So is our impound big enough to hire or house the added influx? And do we have a policy in place for dogs that have been there for a while, like we do an adoption program, or how's that work with the town?
There's lots of different components. Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. To answer your first question, currently there is housing for 6 dogs. And to say that, so for example, the town of Carlton Place, I think, has maybe 2 dogs a year that could be in the pound. So it's not like we're receiving 20 to 30 dogs at any time. So I understand there could be concern having multiple municipalities sharing the one resource, but there isn't an influx of dogs. Saying that, there has been the odd time where you know, a puppy mill has been located in other municipalities, but there are outside agencies that we can utilize, the SPCA and lots of smaller organizations for adoption purposes where the animals can go. And we'll be moving forward, we'll be trying to structure some of those and having those in place prior to needing them.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? No? Okay. I guess we have to do all in favor?
Yep.
Thank you. All in favor? Passed. Moving on, communications and petitions. E1, approval notice, Renfrew OPP detachment board proposal. And is that you?
Yep, sure. I can, through you, Chair, I can speak to this quickly. The communication that's included on the agenda is notice that we, sorry, I'm just trying to bring it up at the same time. It's notice from the province stating that our proposal that was submitted, and it was submitted by CAO Paquette from Armpar for the Renfrew County, and the proposal talks about the number of seats on the board and kind of the layout, what we as a group feel is appropriate moving forward with. As some of you may be aware, there has been a change. The province has been moving towards the detachment board versus individual municipalities having advisory boards. This will start in January 2024. So again, this notice just says that they have approved what we have proposed and the number of municipalities that are associated with it, which is this area of the county, and that total of 7 seats. And if you look, you'll actually see in that correspondence the breakdown. So Town of Armpar, Greater Madawaska, Horton Township, McNabb, Braeside Township, Renfrew, Amundsen, Bromley Township, and Whitewater Region.
Thank you very much. That's just to receive information, so we don't need to vote on that. No committee minutes at this point. So I guess we move to upcoming meetings for committee. Will be the next. Sorry, start over. The next regular scheduled meeting for Fire Emergency and Protective Services Committee is scheduled for December 12th at 10 o'clock here. And I guess we move to adjournment. Thank you very much for all your help, Councillor McDonald and Chief Guest, and of course you, Clerk Everett.